Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to the SPL once again. This weekend, it's all Europe and NA. Today, we'll all be focused on Europe. It is week 3, and after this week, we will hit the halfway point in the spring split. So let's have a little look at the standings right now of Europe and see exactly how they all line up. At the top of the shop, you can see Valence Squad having a very good performance so far with their performances in the first 3 weeks, beating Sanguine, splitting with Energy, and also beating Cyclone. Have seen them rocket to the top, and at the bottom, Cyclone themselves in a bit of a struggle here at the moment, not having the greatest performance, bit behind in terms of points with only 1, and Sanguine, well, they're also sat on 0. So rough stuff at the bottom end. There's a nice little look at that, and then move on, we can actually look at what we're going to be seeing today. We're going to start things off over with Energy, the world champions, up against Cyclone. Energy will be using a substitute as well today, so we'll see how that works out for them. Following that, we'll see Valence Squadron up against Lion Guard, who also have substitutes, and Obey, and against that's going to be against Elevate, which could be a very interesting match after the performances we saw out of Elevate just recently. And finally, to wrap up the day, Dignitas and Sanguine will go head-to-head, and maybe we'll see some more spicy junglers there as well. But without further ado, there's enough of wasting your time. We should head over to the casters now for set 1, which is Energy, looking to find some wins.
Thank you very much, Hindu. I'm Aggro. That's Toli. We're ready for some EU SPL Week 3, like Hindu mentioned, and we're kicking it off with Energy up against Cyclone. But like Hindu mentioned, Toli, Energy, they're playing with a sub this time around. World's MVP from Season 2, Yaman. He's not going to be here today. It's going to be Paria in the middle lane, formerly on the Poppies, Toli.
He hasn't had any SPL experience, so it's going to be interesting to see how he's going to be up against CycloneGG. You know, one of these bottom-tier teams currently in the European standings, only finding 1 split, but it was a pretty strong split in the last week, and this is very important to close out this week, heading into the bye week with a bang.
Absolutely. I mean, Cyclone, they finally get on the board with a split last time, like you said, and they looked pretty strong doing so. They definitely are starting to get some momentum rolling, and what better way to get momentum than beating the defending world champions, even if they do have a substitute. CycloneGG, despite being in 7th place, definitely has some potential to move up in the ranks. I could see that today up against Energy. Cabrakan, the first ban. Seen plenty of bans on that Guardian recently. Thoth and Zeus, 2 mid laners, taken off the board as well. It's going to be Hunbats focusing out, adapting. We've seen Hunbats just be a very, very comfortable pick for many of these European junglers.
It's very difficult to ban out adapting. I think the more important part for CycloneGG's strategy is to take away an option from Energy that would disrupt the flow from Cyclone. And Hunbats is one of these guys that can play both offensively and defensively. Even if you shut down adapting, if he's playing the Hunbats, he's going to be able to make a lot of counter-aggressive plays and make rotations, which is why we see iceicebaby pick up this Susano to play very aggressive from the very start.
It definitely feels like an iceicebaby sort of god. He likes to play aggressively, and Susano absolutely lends himself to that with his kit. Thor, one of Adapting's quintessential picks, going to be the selection for Energy. Love this Khepri pick for iRaffer right away in the first spot as well, making sure that he can keep his team alive because you know how aggressive they like to be, but also keep himself alive. A lot of Energy's strategy is baiting out iRaffer, letting him absorb a lot of cooldowns, and then if he can find that Khepri ultimate on himself or reset the team fight, could be a big way for Energy to win.
That Rising Dawn is so important to mitigate damage and to allow Adapting to dive that backline on this Thor to revive him anytime he wants. And that's Energy's style, to even take away this Khepri before Sylvanus. A lot of teams have been preferring this support god because the fact that it helps you in the level 1 clear, the fact that your in-hands hit multiple targets.
Medusa, the selection here for Energy. If Yaman was here, I would say we don't necessarily know where this is going. But with Paria there, I don't really know what his god pool is like. Though if I recall correctly, he was the hunter for the Poppies. So that could be in the middle lane here for Energy.
And that's something that Energy have to utilize to their fullest potential here. Allow emilitoo and Paria here to still play the gods that they really want to and look for these team fights in the mid game. Now Xing being locked in for Dimi.
Yeah, the Guardians seem the focus here for Energy overall. They ban away 2 Guardians, Terra and Sobek in the second phase, and then pick one up for themselves in that solo lane. and it's going to be Neith. So it's most likely Medusa in the hunter role, Neith in the mid lane, though we absolutely could see some flexibility there. Nike, we haven't seen at all yet in Season 4, if I remember correctly. Haven't seen her yet, but still has that amazing passive come late game.
Absolutely. It's very important to get that movement speed and the power as the game progresses. You know, you got to get 250 minions for the first one, 10 god kills on the second, and then 2 gods hitting level 20 on your teammates to get the third one. And that's going to be a lot of mobility and power once that late game form comes online for CycloneGG. And looking at the composition from NRG with these double hunters, double guardians, and adapting playing the Thor, this is going to be very aggressive, I feel, from NRG. So Cyclone needs to figure out a way to hold off the early game.
Yeah, that's there's a lot of early game aggression on Cyclone's side, though, as well. You've got the Sylvanus for the early game push. Susano likes to play pretty aggressive in the early game, and then as does Anhur for vote. So you've got a nice balance for Cyclone, really relying on that Nike passive in the later stages, but having some early game pressure to get you there.
And it seems like there's going to be a little bit of a change up. emilitoo is going to be going mid here while they're going to allow Paria to be in that duo lane by himself, rather, with iRaffer, just to make sure that the Neith is going to be comfortably farming, throwing out those global ultimates, and make sure that adapting has a little bit more synergy.
Yeah, just trying to get their substitute as comfortable as possible. emilitoo still playing a hunter, so he's going to be somewhat comfortable, though, adapting after his interview last week after NRG's wins, saying he wants to try and stay as far away from emilitoo as possible. He's probably pretty upset that he has to deal with him in the middle lane there. And looks like the clear may favor Cyclone as adapting, taking a lot of damage here in the middle lane. The minions are hitting him as well, courtesy of that bluestone pendant. So Cyclone getting a little bit of push power in the middle lane.
Very smart for iceicebaby on the third strike of Stormcutter to use it defensively instead of offensively. Had he hit adapting there, he wouldn't have had an escape, and then the bluestone would continue to tick onto adapting, which would in turn make the archers hit iceicebaby. And the fact that he was already at about 33% health, that could have easily spilled first blood for NRG.
Deathwalker goes into the enemy jungle, steals away the 2 little guys on this buff camp, like we've seen so much happen in the duo lane, but not as much in the solo lane. He gets those 2, gets a little bit of experience his way, takes it away from NRG, but Dimi still able to get that blue buff. We haven't seen Nike in so long, Toli, and that's kind of surprising to me. How do you think her matchup goes with this Xing Chen in the solo lane?
Any warrior versus guardian is going to favor the warrior in the early to mid stages of the laning phase. So I like the idea for Deathwalker to be able to pick that up and make sure that CycloneGG will be in a good spot once those auras come online. Dimi's not going to be able to really out-pressure Deathwalker on this Nike up until he gets the cooldown reduction, gets the Breastplate of Valor, he'll have the MP5, and then he'll be a very annoying force. But then keep in mind, Deathwalker's second ability on the Nike does give him a lot of HP 5 to contest Dimi's HP 5 as well.
Whenever Nike was really meta in this solo lane, though I think that a lot of pro players really felt like she was better in the jungle anyways. Wlfy gonna get walled off here by adapting in the mid lane. Nice lacerate by emilitoo as well. Purification beads used, but it's not gonna be enough as Emil finds first blood in the middle lane. Forced to Aegis as iceicebaby still playing a little bit aggressive, has one more dash available, and Stormcutt's gonna be able to pick it up, but now he's got no escape.
iRaffer is here to be able to secure the kill, but he's not done yet. The jet stream was used offensively by iceicebaby. Seems that it was intercepted, but adapting messes up the wall, unfortunately. Callus is here to find some stain as well, so trading 1 for 1, but first blood going to emilitoo playing this Medusa mid.
And you also get the purification beads out from Wlfy, which is so important in a matchup where you've got some character like Thor that can really force you into a CC situation from a distance or from surprise from that ultimate. Going back to the solo lane matchup that I was going to talk about, whenever Nike was meta in the solo lane, it was always, can I pick something that can interrupt Rend?
Yes.
Is Xing Chen able to do that safely enough with his second ability?
Yes, he can easily find the knock-up to interrupt the lane clear from Deathwalker, but at the same time, having those AoE in-hands from Nike is still going to help him out to somewhat clear the wave. And even if you do have to sacrifice a little bit of gold under the tower in the form of melee minions, in the long run, you're not going to be too far behind from this Guardian quite yet.
Not quite yet, at least. 1-1 early on here. Cyclone and NRG even, basically. A little bit of gold lead, but that's just from that first blood in the middle lane. emilitoo hanging out with that first blood. Again, he uses his Aegis there in that situation. We talked about how important it is that Wlfy's purification beads is down, but emilitoo is really under the same boat. Has to be careful of any gank potential from iceicebaby, and the knock-up combination from Kalas and the raw snipe can be absolutely brutal, and he's got to be worried about that. How difficult is it to spend so much time playing the hunter role and then be told, all right, go play mid for this set.
Especially in Season 4, where the action has slowed down in the hunter position, you definitely have to have that on-off mentality switch where you're going to be expected to be in the thick of things from the very beginning. And just like that, emilitoo, you know, he got the first blood, but he died in return. So now he's going to have to respect this, but he was a little bit too far out.
A little bit. Nice pull back in from iceicebaby. And then again from Collis, there's the root and there's the snipe. Just like I was talking about, Wlfy able to find emilitoo right as the speed buff spawns for NRG. Dimi trying to secure it with his ultimate, but iceicebaby used his as well. Wlfy getting pretty low there. There's the dunk in from adapting, but a great win sight. We're going to peel him off for now, but Wlfy does fall to the hand of the jungler. Dimi still trying to run away here, but it looks like Wlfy's going to be the only casualty.
And the speed buff was successfully stolen away, so Dapping's not going to have that one available to him. So trading out both mid laners yet again. It seems to be the theme for this part of the game. Heading into the 5-minute mark. Dueling, we haven't really seen too much of Paria now, but with both supports gone, this is going to be a one-on-one for a majority of the time. And still working on the Transcendence for now. Paria's going to be having a little bit of difficulty in terms of keeping up with the mobility from Vote.
Yeah, Vote must really want to take this boxing matchup because as one of the more aggressive hunters in the SPL, always looking to fight, and then you're up against a substitute who's playing something like Neith that can be kind of easily exploited in lane if you play aggressively enough. Vote must have his eyes looking like dinner plates.
He definitely wants to take advantage of this, but Paria is comfortable just farming it up. He's not trying to look for any sort of trade potential. He just wants to be able to secure the wave with his own ability. We saw the fact that Vote looked for the offensive impale, didn't hit it, and Paria was like, all right, I'm not going to look for my offensive root on you. I'm just going to clear the whole wave and then look to rotate and maximize my farm by splitting those oracles with adapting.
You can see Oracle, a Chalice of the Oracle picked up by iceicebaby. We see this a lot on supports in particular. Mid laners have started to pick it up here and there. It's kind of team dependent on what the dynamic is. I think this is the first time we've seen one on a jungler. 400 gold that you don't get anything for selling back is a pretty big investment for someone like Susano, who really wants to be impactful in the early stages of the game. Would you have rather seen him use that 400 gold towards items?
I definitely would, but at the same time, it makes a little sense to see it onto iceicebaby playing the Susano. The fact that Susano has so much mobility in the jungle, you're going to be putting yourself in a great offensive position anytime you really want to. Just like this, iceicebaby is positioned between the red and the purple buff of NRG, looking for more plays with Callus into the mid lane.
Wrapping around the backside, no ward coverage. There's the blink. There's the old emilitoo. Immediately gets crushed there, but the iRaffer's ultimate saves him for now. Great dunk in from adapting. iRaffer is going to fall because of the rotation from Deathwalker. Great pull onto adapting. He's going to fall back. Whirlwind of Rage and Steel. That's going to hit just about nobody. Dimi trying to pick up a kill.
Oh, great interception from iceicebaby on the World Weaver. Adapting was thinking about going back in, but if he hammered in, he would more than likely be in a lot of trouble trying to find a trade kill. This time around, Cyclone, they find 2 kills, which was unresponded by NRG, and just like that, Paria, he's looking for some good synergy with Dimi on these cleanup kills, but great interception, whether or not it was intentional by Cyclone.
Vote just trying to zone Paria away from this wave, and that gank really coming to you because of the lack of ward coverage for NRG. Look at how many red dots are littered through the jungle right now. Early on in this game too, right around 7 minutes, and there's so much ward coverage for Cyclone. NRG had no idea they were getting wrapped around on. iRaffer kind of overestimated how much damage emilitoo was going to take early on, and an awesome rotation from Deathwalker, perfectly timed. A nice Desert's Fury there from Vote to give him that CC immunity to make sure he wasn't getting abducted in, using the very last of his mana. But with Collis here, no more aggression from NRG.
Also going to have the MP5 from that little Sprout, and I like this idea. Look at this, the Golthier being started by CycloneGG. They have the ultimate from Wlfy, but it does get spotted out by NRG. And I like the fact that we saw Vote use his ultimate instead of the Purification Beads, recognizing that he was either going to have to ult, jump, or use his beads there. And if he jumped, he would have probably have to get pulled anyway, so he would have used the beads. So therefore, using his Desert Fury, negating that whole effect, saves him a lot of time because the ultimate out of the Anhur is 90 seconds, whereas it's much longer on the Purification Beads.
Absolutely, and one of the things I'm really liking about Cyclone's gameplay so far here in this first set of the day is how aggressive they're being. Cyclones seem to fall behind whenever they were being very reactionary, not trying to take their first footstep forward. This time around, they're the ones trying to force the fights onto NRG, and it's working out in their favor.
It's dictated based off of their picks and bans. With that ban from Hunbats, with their early pick from the Susano, you could tell that they wanted to have a lot of early action right from the beginning, and so far, so good. You know, 4-2, but they're not really up too much gold here. They did give up the first blood. It was actually Wlfy that died first, so this is why NRG got that initial gold spike, and we haven't really seen too many invades coming out of CycloneGG. They did steal away that speed buff that one time, but nothing really more after that.
No, not quite, and they lose Wlfy in that invade anyways, so it's not really too much of a net gain for them in that situation. But this game is basically even, and this has been NRG's kind of MO for the most part. They're willing to let you win the early stages of the game at times. They're also pick high pressure compositions that they'd never let you get online, but they can absolutely play from behind and get back into the game. Paria gonna eat an impale and immediately forced to use his purification. Backflip. Kalas is there, but who cares? Vote with the solo kill onto the substitute for energy, and that's exactly what Cyclone need to do consistently, is abuse this duo lane where they have the opportunity.
That's one of the most important plays to do as a hunter. You have to be able to hold that corner right around the purple buff just to catch the opposing hunter out of position and off guard. And the fact that he was positioned right around that purple buff, we see the ward from energy, but it was behind the Gold Fury. It wasn't actually right on that crevice of the purple, so getting caught out of position, especially by an Anhur, he has that kind of burst potential up until Paria gets the Aegis. That's going to be a play that Vote can make every single time.
And Paria made that exact same mistake earlier, thought better of it, went around the backside. We saw Vote kind of there making sure that Paria couldn't come in and farm the wave, and then just doesn't respect how aggressive Vote likes to play, how far up in the lane he likes to be. And as a result, he's going to fall to the solo kill for Vote. But like I was talking about, NRG's usually used to being okay with being behind. They'll come back in around the 15, 20-minute mark, wherever they may be. But that's because they have that fail-safe in emilitoo. They've got that hunter that they know can carry in the late game. Paria might have that opportunity, but you can't guarantee it like you can with your longtime teammate. So do you think NRG was trying to get ahead early, and do you think they're concerned that they aren't?
Well, in the late game, NRG is going to have some issues dealing with the sustain out of Wlfy and Kalas, so they're going to need to have a little bit of anti-healing options if they're going to make an impact. Now, in the early game, they've been making some counterplays, but nothing too much aggressively in terms of adapting's ultimate on either of these side lanes. I would like to see him make some of these rotations, but the wards coming out of CycloneGG make it very difficult for NRG to really find any loophole to really exploit.
Yeah, can we take a look at wards placed, please? Because we've seen the no Chalice of the Oracle for NRG. Dimi's doing a pretty good job, but look at across the board, it's overall in Cyclone's favor. Paria gonna eat another impale. Vote doesn't want to all-in commit because of where iRaffer is on the map. You can see Cyclone knows exactly where he is, but again, just poking out the substitute for energy, trying to exploit that weakness.
Finding the oracles is CycloneGG even controlling some more vision on the map, and the rotation from Wlfy that they were thinking about starting up the Gold Fury, but too close is the rest of energy starting up those left mids. But Kalas blinking in, he finds the ultimate.
Typhoon gonna hit the mark onto adapting, but emilitoo is gonna be able to dash away as will adapting. iRaffer still trying to make everything happen. Dimi's teleported in here to make sure energy isn't too far behind, but meanwhile, Paria on the left-hand side, soloed again. Vote has committed his jump, but the rest of Cyclone here, no way energy can punish him.
They're going to find Kalas back on with Dimi's ultimate, taking a little bit of poke, going to find some more sustain. The ultimate from iRaffer, going to keep Dimi alive for a little bit longer, but looking for great patience out of CycloneGG. They don't allow the revive.
Love the pull in there from Kalas, and then like you mentioned, the patience to wait out that Scarab's blessing. 2 for 0. Cyclone up in the kill department right now. emilitoo getting pressured out by Deathwalker while the rest of Cyclone wants to do the Gold Fury, but adapting comes crashing down on the backside. Deathwalker is able to pick up emilitoo. Adapting still trying to get away, but a great teleport in from iceicebaby. Nowhere for him to go. Adapting falls to the enemy jungler. 9-2. Cyclone in the lead.
They find 4 kills, and now they're finding the Gold Fury. CycloneGG, they're looking like they're going to have a great early pace of this game. The question is, how can they secure this a little bit harder? They find themselves a little bit up here, 3,000 experience, 2,500 gold, but this is not a lead where you could just start sieging tier 1s and tier 2s right off the bat. They still need to get a little bit more levels here for Wlfy and Kalas to really get their sustain options online.
And they've got a great, like we mentioned, they've got great late game potential with that Nike passive. They're just waiting for that to be fulfilled. They're only 1 kill away from fulfilling one of those. Right around now is when you'll start to see them finish off the 250 minions as well, and then it only takes a couple level 20s for them to complete that Nike passive. NRG's got a pretty good late game as well. Of course, they do have the double hunter, but Neith not exactly the late game carry you're looking for. You really wanted Paria to get some sort of even lead or just an outright lead in this duo lane, and it's been the exact opposite of what's been happening. Vote really taking advantage of the sub.
And something we haven't really discussed this game is their lack of magical damage coming out of NRG between the iRaffer playing the Khepri as well as Dimi playing the Xing Chen, especially going for a very tanky like Xing Chen as you're supposed in the solo lane. That's going to limit the true potential out of NRG. CycloneGG can really build into a lot of these physical defense items, which is why we also see Deathwalker negate magical defense, go straight into the mystical mail, making sure that he can dive the backline, stick onto these hunters, no problem.
Absolutely, and he's got a Sunder as well, just trying to make sure that Cyclone will have enough damage in any sort of scenario that they may need it. iceicebaby and Kalas on the right-hand side here, looking to try and make something happen, but all of NRG are just going to back away. And by all of NRG, I just mean iRaffer and Dimi. So, Cyclone, they're going to start up this Portal Demon. Adapting does have his ultimate, and he's lurking around the backside. Portal Demon getting low. There comes the crash down in from Adapting. Portal Demon goes the way of NRG. They steal it away.
They're going to be able to continue the aggression as well. Iceicez is very low, force the jet stream out. NRG is content with stealing this and retreating. They're going to be able to get in and out of the action, taking that portal. But small little victory like that for NRG is what's going to keep them in the game. Now, they make sure that CycloneGG don't get that 750 gold, and they cut the lead.
iceicebaby going to get poked out a little bit there by that wall and double tap combination. iRaffer finding the pull onto Kalas, but he's still so tanky. Adapting, trying to do a little bit of damage, but that zoning pillar from Vote, excellent.
Great pillar because it actually stopped the movement from Dimi getting closer to find the knock-up continuation, because iRaffer found initial pull onto Kalas, and then shortly after, Dimi was looking for that knock-up but being denied by Vote's pillar. This is the kind of synergy that Cyclone really need to keep using if they want to find some more wins here in the SPL.
Look at the confidence from Vote, willing to stand in front of two players from NRG and just trying to secure both oracles. He only ends up getting one, but able to jump away without any sort of problem. We haven't really mentioned iRaffer's build quite yet. A couple interesting things there. Goes for the Bumba's Mask right away, then finishes off the Traveler's Shoes, but he picked up Wrath at level 1, or Hand of the Gods rather, at level 1. We haven't really seen a whole lot of Hog from anyone except for iRaffer, but he seems to really like this relic right away.
It's a good idea to look for some invades with the Hand of the Gods, but at this stage it doesn't seem very fruitful quite yet. Nice patience on the jet stream, waiting out their initial route from iRaffer, finding a little bit of poke onto Paria, but with the second ability from Neith, it's going to be able to top it off quite nice. And going back onto the build from iRaffer with this Traveler Shoes, Mark of the Vanguard into Hand of the Gods, you're also looking to secure some of these objectives. You have 300 damage with Hand of the Gods plus 10 per level, and it's not as much as Wlfy's Raw Snipe, obviously, but it's still something to maybe look for the steal.
Absolutely, you can try and make a play with it. Maybe that could have come into play on that Portal Demon there where you're riding along with Adapting as it happened, but maybe that was the difference maker for NRG. Regardless, Cyclone, they're the ones still in the lead, 9-2 in kills, but only about 2,000 gold, so even despite the big kill disparity, NRG staying close in terms of farm.
It's still very playable here for NRG. Left-hand side iRaffer paired up with Paria, trying to stop the aggression coming out of Vote. And this is very beneficial for Cyclone here to get two members here on the left-hand side. It opens up the window for any plays to happen in middle or on the right. And great patience also from emilitoo just to be able to hold off in the mid lane. He was getting picked off quite a lot in the early game and then two more times in certain team fights, but he hasn't been really focused any longer with the vision control from Cyclone.
Well, it's a little bit harder in the mid lane, especially when you're playing a character that you're used to playing, like Medusa, as emilitoo finds a nice seal into the blue buff. He's playing a character that he's used to, and by 17 minutes, oh, I should be, level 18 and have this many items, but in the mid lane, your farm is much more contested, and as a result, you're kind of playing with a lead you might not have. Tier 1 tower getting sieged here by Cyclone. iRaffer going to take a lot of damage right away. Petrify is good from emilitoo, but the knockup from the Typhoon is also excellent. Scarab's Blessing saves iRaffer's life for now. Adapting, finds two with the ultimate. World Weaver onto Vote. Knockup there by Kalas, trying to get everyone away, but Deathwalker's made the rotation.
The hammer is down from Adapting. We see Deathwalker doing a lot of damage, zoning so many away. Dimi doing the same thing, being paired up now with Paria, finding the backflip under the safety of the Tier 1 tower. And that aggressive play from CycloneGG was based off of the rotation coming from emilitoo, rotating over his own Sentry Ward just to steal his blue buff, open up the window to for Cyclone to get that tier 1 tower, or at least get it down to half health. And with the sustain from Callus and Wlfy, despite not necessarily securing the objective right now, they're going to try for round 2.
0 anti-heal available for NRG, and you can see just how healthy everyone from Cyclone is. And NRG has no ults ready to go to try and defend this tier 1 tower. They do still have a decent amount of poke from a distance, though, and so Cyclone, they're going to back up as the Gold Fury has respawned. They've got the control. Wlfy, the only one with an ultimate on the side of Cyclone. Dimi's got that Whirlwind of Rage and Steel, and he's coming around the backside looking for it. There's a pull in from iceicebaby. Dimi finds 2, throws him directly at emilitoo. Searing Pain finds no one, and Paria gets on the board.
And that's a great pickoff, taking away one sustain option from Cyclone. They still have Wlfy on the raw, but if they're going to find another pull here for NRG, that could be another pick. There's a lot of relics being down here on the side of CycloneGG with this Gold Fury being up. It's going to be a 5-on-4 advantage for NRG.
iRaffer has the hog. He's looking to secure the Gold Fury with it, and he will. It goes the way of NRG, adapting up in that Anvil of Dawn. Recognizes that everyone is backed up. They already got the objective. No reason to force it any longer. NRG get a kill and the Gold Fury, and all of a sudden, the gold lead is completely gone for Cyclone. Completely even game at the 19-minute mark.
You can never count NRG out at any stage of the game. They were only down about 2,500 gold at one point, 3,000 experience, just like that. They're back in it off of the nice plays, being able to wrap around that Gold Fury between your 2 tanky Guardians, and a lot of abilities were used there onto Dimi. He took a little bit of poke there initially, but hold that thought. Adapting going to take a little bit more poke. Seems like NRG really want to dive this.
But Susano is just so mobile. It's going to be difficult for anyone from NRG to catch up to him, though he does use up purification, so iceicebaby gonna have to be a little bit wary of those dunks from adapting for the next 2 minutes plus. Tier 1 tower on the right-hand side now trying to get siege down. emilitoo gonna blink away, or dash away, but the blink from Kalas catches him and forces out that purification bead.
Still finding the tier 1 tower on the right-hand side. That was the whole play from NRG. You force out iceicebaby, you do a lot of damage to him. Just forcing the purification beads was the icing on the cake, but their goal initially was just to create enough space to be able to get that extra 500 gold.
Dimi teleports in to try and defend this portal demon. Last time it went the way of NRG despite Cyclone starting it up. That's exactly what the defending world champs are trying to do again, but it's only iRaffer, Dimi, and emilitoo here adapting, still coming in from base. Petrified, not going to be there to secure it as Cyclone grab the portal demon, but Dimi grabs Kalas, throws him back into the team. Typhoon gonna knock up 3, but adapting is back, and he finds 2.
Vote's going to take a lot of damage, forced into the Aegis. Callus is very low as well, stunning out Vote, finding the first pick of this team fight. Getting pulled back in is Deathwalker. He's taking a lot of damage, but he's doing quite a lot in return. A lot of members from NRG rather low. Everyone has to back off, though, from CycloneGG. Adapting goes back in.
He's looking for it, but Wlfy immediately finds him with that first ability, the Celestial Beam. iceicebaby trying to get away from everyone. Scarab's Blessing pop by emilitoo, but Kalas has used that teleporter, and he's right back in the action. Paria trying to get away from 2 members of Cyclone. The substitute for NRG trying to get away.
He missed.
Can't quite find the Spirit Arrow. Backflip's good, but the pull from Kalas is not, and the Neith able to walk away with her life.
What turned into be a 1-for-0 for NRG, losing also the Portal Demon, turned into be a 1-for-1 off of Adapting's very aggressive hammer in there, surprisingly enough. That's not something that he's known to be doing all the time with his teammates, rather. Sometimes you'll see him make very aggressive plays in rank, but he's usually very calculated in terms of when he goes in there. Now, Callus was very low, and he really wanted that kill, but the rest of his teammates just weren't in position to bail him out.
Not quite. I think he had his Aegis up, but just mistimed it, couldn't find it quite. Kalas uses his ultimate to immune Dimi's as Deathwalker jumps into the back, trying to find some damage onto emilitoo, but he's the one who's getting a lot of damage returned onto him. The abduct is good. There's the dunk in, and a huge Petrify from emilitoo is going to pick up Kalas. Vote forced to jump away. The Typhoon there just to get everyone from Cyclone out of danger, and NRG only find the support player.
They're still going to be utilizing the sustain from Wlfy, though, backing off. The Fire Giant could be looked at potentially for NRG, depending on how far away Cyclone lean, but it's not going to be very easy for NRG to get anything off of this one pick. Callus only dead here for 15 seconds. Gold Fury still not up for another minute and a half.
You can see how much healing Cyclone has done. 10,000 there for Wlfy, another 5,000 on top of that for Kalas, and big goose eggs across the board for NRG. They've got no response to any sort of healing on their side, though they have started to pick up some healing reduction. Tier 1 tower going to try and get sieged down here by NRG. Deathwalker rooted in place. Dimi still trying to frontline. Deathwalker taking a lot of damage, but a massive shield from Sentinel of Zeus means the NRG's not going to be able to find a kill on him anytime soon. They are able to knock down that tier 1 tower, though, granting them 500 gold across the team.
Very slow and steady is NRG's progression, and these team fights have been favoring them, even though they don't have the same sustain out of Cyclone, because of the positioning of these team fights. All the ultimates from emilitoo has just been on point, doing so much massive damage, petrifying even some members out of CycloneGG. And the fact of the matter is, taking out Callus this early in these team fights has been so beneficial. That's a huge sustain option stripped away. Despite it not matching Wlfy entirely, it's still around 6,000 healing.
Yeah, it's quite a bit. And you got to give, like you mentioned there, the petrifies from emilitoo have been game-changing. NRG's winning these team fights off of that AoE ultimate, because they don't have a lot of AoE to talk about. I mean, Neith's basically single target, though you do have some, you can hit multiple people with the root, but that's in a dream sort of scenario. When you don't have a mage, you don't have someone like a Ra or a Poseidon, someone whose job is to do AoE damage, you can be lacking, and that's where emilitoo's had a really, really strong game, making up for that lack in NRG's draft.
Adapting, taking a lot of damage. The ultimate getting intercepted yet
Wlfy.
again. Wlfy intercepts it. He's going to be probably focused out here, but great positioning from Callus. Is going to intercept a dash from iRaffer. Dimi is here as well, trying to look for a potential play. iceicebaby is poked out, but having 2 sustain options, it will be back no problem. They also have adapting coming from NRG just to be able to defend that tier 1 tower on the right-hand side, with Deathwalker trying to find some more gold for his team.
One swing's all it's going to take as the solo laner for Cyclone finds his oppose's tower, able to get that 500 gold like you mentioned. 5 to 10, read the kills. Cyclone still a little bit ahead.
Deathwalker going very physical defense oriented here. Mystical Mail, Mergardian Mail, even Hide of the Urchin, having a little bit of magical defense to deal with Dimi and iRaffer, but more than likely he's going to stick on those hunters. That's what you have to do, especially with Mergardian Mail, slowing your movement speed and attack speed.
I love this build coming out of Deathwalker, because even if you do build some magical defense up against someone like Xing, he's doing percent damage with Furious Roar anyways, so it doesn't really matter that much. I love this build, just focusing on shutting down this double hunter composition from NRG. And one thing I didn't really mention, we haven't mentioned quite yet, we've talked a lot about the sustain on Cyclone's side. There is a little bit of an anti-heal here for NRG. If emilitoo can dash aggressively, Lacerate takes a lot of healing off the enemy team, a substantial healing debuff for quite some time. So if ML is able to play aggressive, they could try and find someone like Callus out of position very easily.
That's true. He does have 50% anti-healing off of that Lacerate, but putting himself out of position, he has to be very calculating about when he does find the Lacerate. NRG are positioning themselves around this gold here. It seems that Vote is going to poke his head around the corner, but it doesn't look like Perea really wants to take it quite yet. He's going to be looking for more farm on the left before these team fights continue.
In response to this build from Deathwalker, I really like what both Perea and emilitoo have gone for. Not the crit. You can't go crit into a build like that, because you're going to be critting them for like 200 damage. Instead, pure penetration on both sides, trying to punch through all that physical defense that Deathwalker has built. But again, we saw, so Callus and Cyclone's set last time, they went up against a 4 physical composition or a double hunter composition, something along those lines. No sovereignty. And again, no sovereignty here. Going for Shield of Regrowth instead. Is sovereignty just not as good as a lot of other support players think it is? Or what's the reasoning behind going for Shield of Regrowth instead of that AoE team buff?
It's just all about the mobility and finding the right positioning to be able to get off your Wrath of Terror whenever you want to. He does still have the Gauntlet of Thieves, which still gives you a little bit of physical protections and magical, but he could look for the sovereignty a little bit later on. You know, you're also sacrificing not having that 25 HP 5 aura or so on the sovereignty, but Dimi doing a good job buying time for the rest of NRG to rotate.
Adapting comes crashing down, but can't find anyone. Portal Demon goes the way of NRG, and they picked up the Gold Fury as well, as Cyclone was positioning themselves around this right side objective instead of on the left. A big gold spike in NRG's favor because of that. Cyclone just caught sleeping a little bit there, totally.
This is the difference between the two tiers. Now, despite NRG struggling a little bit so far this split, you know, losing to Obey, splitting against Valent Squadron, beating Elevate earlier on, they're still expected to be this top-tier team. They've won the Smite World Championship 2 years in a row. And this is them showing why they still have remained the top-tier team, despite having a substitute for this set currently right before the bye week. They're still looking very solid.
Adapting pulled in beautifully by Collis. There's the beats and the agates, but Adapting still in a ton of trouble. Scarab's blessing from iRaffer. Gonna be able to get him out of danger for now. Deathwalker, despite all that physical protection, it's not gonna help him out as Perea shreds him with the help of emilitoo. Shoutouts to the Abduct, locking Deathwalker in, silenced forever. Never got a chance to get that ultimate off.
Just jumped over the wall. Nobody else from his team was in position to bail him out of danger, and he didn't even have time to use his ultimate to get that initial shield. It seemed to me like he was doing a little bit of a bait play where he would jump in, absorb some cooldowns, pop his 2, use his ultimate to be able to get that 60% health shield, but those chain CCs coming out of NRG were just too much, and the physical defense, like you mentioned, just did not take into effect.
We think of Khepri as this defensive support who's there to revive, but he's also excellent on the offense. If you can find that Abduct, great lockdown for anybody. Kalas here in the front line trying to stop NRG from doing this Fire Giant. He's tossed directly into the Petrify as NRG, they want to fight instead of doing the objective. Icebaby's around the backside, but Kalas walled off from the rest of his team. emilitoo picks him up.
Typhoon gonna dissect through the team fight, only knocking up 1, forcing out some relics from others. iceicebaby still lingering around on the bottom hand side. We hear the aura coming online from Nike, doing its work between the damage and the movement speed. Once Vote does hit level 20, that's going to be all 3 auras. iceicebaby, though, nice beats to be able to run away. Even uses his second ability to get that 4% additional movement speed, adapting, using his hammer, though, trying to cut off iceicebaby.
Trying to find him, but he's so fast. Ice's got that Storm Kata now, and Adapting, he's just gonna go back to that Fire Giant side as it's been started up again by NRG. Dimi is here, Wlfy very, very low. emilitoo dashing forward, trying to find it. There's a Sentinel of Zeus as Dimi picks up the enemy mid laner. Deathwalker frontlining this time with that shield, but a great double root from Perea forces him to jump away and pokes out Vote quite a bit.
Not having iceicebaby in that team fight was very impactful. Cyclone gonna lose out Wlfy. It's gonna hurt also their attempts to steal this Fire Giant for the next 30 seconds. That's a big burst damage from that Searing Pain, not available to CycloneGG. NRG could easily look for this Gold Fury now, or this Fire Giant.
And I love, and I'm a little bit curious about this build from Wlfy, and we see Rod of Asclepius be very core on Ra, usually 3rd item. Instead he's gone for the Book of Thoth, but the Rod of Asclepius still isn't completed. Rod of Healing gonna give you a little bit of a healing boost, but it would have, this healing has been nuts already from Cyclone. It could have been even better if he had picked up that Rod of Asclepius.
Especially having more health to survive, being a little bit more slippery with the movement speed that it provides you, not to mention the Ra's passive gives you movement speed per stack that you have, up to 3 stacks. A little bit of out of position as iRaffer, taking a lot of damage, but the rest of his team is there. iceicebaby, surprisingly enough, all the way on the left.
He does have a lot of mobility, but no global ultimate, and so NRG, they're content to start up this Fire Giant. iceicebaby in the middle lane, trying to make sure he doesn't get spotted out by that minion wave, but I don't know if Cyclone's gonna be here in time. Fire Giant gets bursted, NRG are able to snag it, no problem.
And they're gonna run away for free, it seems. Dimi's gonna be on the bottom backhand side of the Fire Giant. Callus trying to lead the charge, but the rest of his team is going to middle instead. Very suspicious play coming out of Cyclone, not really utilizing their teamwork together.
This is what we see from Cyclone time and time again. They had a great early game, they looked phenomenal, they were beating the world champs, yes, with the sub, but whatever, they still look like they're good. And they, remember, Cyclone beat NRG at full strength last season during the online split, I believe during this fall split, was able to take a split off of them, but then they just give up a free objective, they give up a free Gold Fury, which allows NRG to get in the lead, and then a free Fire Giant with no sort of contest whatsoever.
The problem was the vision from NRG was just too good. Left-hand side, iceicebaby was spotted as he was making the rotation, so they knew they had enough time to just force it out. Now NRG, they're trying to siege this tier 2 tower. Deathwalker diving in the backline, doing his ultimate just to get a huge shield off, but it doesn't buy too much time. The Callus ultimate hit nobody.
And there's the dunk in from Adapting, finds the beads out of Wlfy, but Dimi immediately tosses him back into the team. Petrify picks him up and stuns iceicebaby as well. The rest of Cyclone on the run. NRG just sieging down the middle lane. emilitoo picks up 2 there, trying to make sure he doesn't fall. In fact, will fall intentionally to get revived by that Scarab's blessing. A lot of towers still up though, and NRG, as a result, just gonna back up, can't quite siege down that Titan despite the 5v2.
Having too much protections, too much health, taking too much damage in return. The Fire Giant on everybody for energy. Not confident enough quite yet to lock out this game. It seems like they want to have a guaranteed win. And it makes sense here too, because they don't have these full builds quite yet. They want to make sure that this Titan is going to get absolutely melted. And they also want to have their cooldowns available in case things get a little sticky.
A lot of big ultimates kind of burned there by Cyclone when they didn't need to be. If Kalas had his ultimate, maybe they can turn that around. I think he tried to blink in and immediately was put into combat, so he ends up just ulting in place. Unfortunate situation for the support player for Cyclone, who's made a lot of highlight reel plays today, really set up a lot of the early game pressure for Cyclone.
This is why we saw Deathwalker initially go into that backline, being expected to follow up was Kalas, but being in combat is a very tricky thing for a lot of these supports players. You have to normally play in the front line to be able to absorb these cooldowns, but at the same time, you have to balance that factor out in terms of not getting into combat. So with that in mind, the middle Phoenix falls, 2 towers in the left falls as well for Cyclone. NRG utilizing this Fire Giant rather effectively, already up almost 11,000 gold.
Yeah, this is a dire spot for Cyclone. The good news for them is they only have 1 Phoenix down, and they've knocked down every tier 1 tower for NRG. So if they're able to find a clean deicide, they could possibly push to end the game with how long the respawn timers are here at the 33-minute mark. 2 rituals have been picked up for NRG. That's kind of surprising to see their selections. We've seen most teams really prioritize Frenzy as the first ritual they want to pick up, but both hunters, Paria and emilitoo, going for the flickering ritual, the combat blink.
Valuing their lives more than the team fight potential. NRG rely on each other, making sure that everyone is playing off of one another, and that's going to be very important for these hunters. If iRaffer and Adapting and Dimi go aggressively, then there's no real peel for these 2 hunters, so they're going to rely on these rituals just to be able to peel for themselves up until the cooldowns for the rest of the frontliners of NRG come back online. So this is going to be interesting to see how this Phoenix Siege is going to happen without this Frenzy ritual.
20 seconds left on the Fire Giant. NRG trying to get it. There's the blink in from Collins, successful this time around, but the backflip saves Paria from the searing pain, and he makes the support player pay. Deathwalker has the big shield from Sentinel of Zeus, trying to trade out into the back line, but Adapting crashes into his. The World Weaver picks up the enemy hunter. Paria finds his revenge in the late game. Wlfy plucked back in. He's gonna fall as well. NRG didn't have the greatest of early games, but looks to have turned it around here in game 1.
It doesn't matter how you get the job done as long as it's been complete. NRG, they're looking to find their first win of this set. So far, so good out of this 2-time world defending champions, even without their mid laner.
Deathwalker plucked back in. That's been the story. Just the abduct has been on Deathwalker every single time. emilitoo gonna feed 1 more death to the enemy team when he gets the chance, but NRG take it 14-11 in a pretty close matchup here. 35 minutes. It took quite a bit of effort there from NRG to pull that one out.
Yes, but still, at the end of the day, it was a great performance. They locked it down, and they made sure that they don't drop a game to CycloneGG. This is also a test before the bye week, because you don't want to go into the bye week with any losses right now. That's going to disrupt your mentality. You want to make sure that you put yourself in the best possible position.
That's true, and NRG, they're in 5th place right now, totally. I mean, they've not had the greatest start to the split that they wanted. You see a lot of teams above them, Dignitas, Phelan Squadron, Lion Guard.
Yep.
They're all above them. And so NRG really need to take these wins against the teams that they're expected to beat. 7th place Cyclone, that's a team they're expected to beat.
Yes, absolutely. But